As we sit here today in a reflection of, was it the right thing to reveal, to talk about everything? Do you feel like you made the right choice?
Notice how Jada answers. Her answer is very telling.
Absolutely. I think at some point, I had to talk about my journey,
Journey. Jada has a fixed set of platitudes that she uses, designed to make her questionable claims sound honorable and normal.
Like my kids, they love every part of me. They love every part of the journey.
With the negative attention, not only is it very unreliable that they love every part of this journey, it's also deceptive. Yet Jada has no problem portraying things in a positive light, which speaks volumes about her indifference to the fact that this isn't or can't be the whole truth. Most of the time, we don't think about the expression that Jada uses here, but in its essence, it's an appeal to alleged shared knowledge between two speakers or more. Thus, it would be difficult or unpleasant for the other speaker to say, "No, I don't know," or something similar. And actually, Hoda doesn't know, that's why she asked. Next, Jada uses association, as if she's speaking on behalf of a collective. Once again, it's a way for her to make what she said and done sound honorable.
And I think, just like we were talking about, I think there's so many of us who, hold so much, specifically women, and feeling like we're going to be criticized, we're going to be
can't say anything.
judged, you can't say anything.
Just like we're talking about.
Like we were talking about,
With these utterances, Jada keeps appealing to shared knowledge, making sure that Hoda remains an ally in this conversation. Not that there was ever any doubt about that. And then Jada makes another tactical move that we see certain celebrities do a lot. She appeals to people's indignation, and not just people's indignation, but the demographic that she hopes will buy her narrative, quite literally.
Specifically women. And
this tactic is about making the demographic recognize being judged. Another cliche, by the way. And why is Jada judging people for judging? Don't judge is a judgment. Once they've recognized the feeling of being judged, they'll forget what Jada has said and done specifically, which is what the tactic's about. It's about creating a generic narrative about being judged, so that people don't hold Jada accountable specifically. Also, we should note how deliberately hyperbolic she is. You can't say anything, she says. No one said that. Rather, people react to what she says, and obviously that reaction flies in the face of the image she wants people to have of her. Hyperbolic oversimplifications have a self-protective function and are as unreliable as the person who uses them. The euphemizing language continues. In the following, Jada repeats the word journey for the third time, and she keeps appealing to shared knowledge.
And the beautiful part about it is like this whole journey, as difficult as it's been, has just brought Will and I closer in such an authentic way,
Yes, we know, Jada, because as we all know, when something's authentic, you truly need to say that it's authentic.
So for both of us, it was just a really authentic and organic way to get to know each other.
I think it's about being authentic. So I just spoke from the heart, and that's probably why it doesn't look polished, and that's why it doesn't feel perfect, but that's also why it's authentic.
An adjective like authentic shows us how aware Jada is of her image. It's about using the right terms, as if the terms themselves are enough to be perceived as authentic. Authenticity is what's missing from this conversation, which is exactly why Jada uses the word in the first place. It's like when someone says they're inclusive. The only reason for saying that is because there are people they want to exclude.
Finding what's true between us.
Wow.
And it's been beautiful. It's been difficult.
It's been difficult.
But beautiful.
And what is true between them? The fact that they went on the red table talk and pretended to not be separated. The fact that their open dialogue is obviously a big problem for Will.
Uh-oh, Richard!
There's a real power in the just knowing somebody's riding with you no matter what.
The fact that Jada presumably wasn't happy before she had an affair.
With August, what do you feel like you were looking for?
I just wanted to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It had been so long since I felt good.
Is this the beauty Jada is talking about? These euphemisms function as overcompensation. When people know they're on the wrong track, They'll overcompensate with positive language so as to not face reality and let other people see this reality. It's like people who smile all the time, which is quite scary.
One thing people were really still concerned about or confused about really was, okay, hang on. They've been divorced in theory, but not on paper.
Yes.
Now that you've had more time, why was that?
We really needed time to get solidified.
Yeah.
The qualifier really is supposed to underline the certainty and sincerity of a statement. However, in this context, with an unreliable narrator, it's an overly convincing linguistic element which points to the existence of another reason, or that there's more to the reason she gives. It points to tactic, not something heartfelt. If they needed time, why did they do the red table talk? They went there of their own accord. They decided to give people a false impression of their dynamic. No one forced them to do it. The reason she gives makes no logical sense.
Because at the end of the day, Will and I love each other. You know, we had to really figure out what we wanted before we went into the world to say what was going on.
And that's precisely the point. With the red table talk and other conversations, they didn't wait. Instead, they enjoyed being applauded for their marriage.
So how long have you guys been together?
23 years.
Wow.
Because we were in such, we were just kind of in this very fragile place. And so now we're just super solid.
Yeah.
And so now I can actually talk about what the journey has been.
With her movements and hedging language,
we were just kind of...
Jada has a hard time coming up with a reason that sounds credible. She ends up with the adjective fragile, which is an appeal to people's emotion and pity, as if Jada was in a fragile place.
It had been so long since I felt good.
But she obviously knows that pathos is a good tactic. Pathos is a way of getting off the hook. And as it happens, it's right now, when she has a book she wants to sell, that all is super solid. How convenient. And yes, things between Will and Jada truly sound super solid, which is something people would say when they know the opposite is true. It sounds like the people who brag about their loving and powerful relationships on social media. Most people who are content with their relationships don't have the need to overcompensate. Next, Jada returns to association. Once again, association is a way for the speaker to come across as relatable.
I think, that's so universal in relationships. He didn't see me and I didn't see him, right?
Yeah.
And so we kind of had to go our separate ways to see each other.
Rather than admitting they were wrong, certain people, will go to astronomical lengths to make what they've done sound honorable and beautiful. At this point, The Little Mermaid's more authentic than Jada's utterances. Even if anybody agreed with Jada's self-serving interpretation, it's still euphemizing language, disguising what this was really about. Because what are these separate ways she's talking about? They're about seeing other people, which again is a euphemism for something else. That's what this beautiful journey was about. Jada can make everything sound like a fairy tale when it's not. Once again,
so
Jada uses the hedge kinda, expressing uncertainty about these already unreliable accounts. Next, notice Jada's use of the impersonal pronoun you, as if she's speaking generally. This is part of her association tactic.
Because when you're in a relationship and you're kind of just pulling at that person to be something for you, you refuse to see them. And so we had to go our separate ways to really look at ourselves and see the blocks that we had in order to find a way back.
As if this applies to everyone and not just Jada and people with similar personalities. It's ironic that she's talking about refusing to see when she obviously still refuses to see that there's nothing beautiful or authentic about her statements. Maybe that's exactly why refusing to see is the expression that's on her mind. Thus, there are still blocks, a lot of them. Jada's convenient conclusions would make sense in rom-coms that contain pompous love language and self-serving self-understandings. They don't make logical sense. Find a way back.
Find a way back.
Which way is that? They've been separated for years. The underrated acting in the room is more convincing than this.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa! You know what they say, love is blind.
Everybody knew that I was very unhappy, but just couldn't figure out why. Because I didn't know what was wrong with me either. Because you have to remember, during that time, no one was really talking about mental health.
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand, and nobody around me understood.
Mental health is another concept that Jada can hide behind, like when she did a deceptive pseudo-psychoanalysis of herself so as to avoid accountability for the affairs she had.
I think that has a lot to do with my codependency, which is another thing that I had to learn to break in this cycle, just that idea of needing to fix and being drawn to people that need help.
Jada can make everything sound self-sacrificing and glamorous. The self-praise and self-focus are non-stop and speak to personality and not the generic feelings Jada is trying to appeal to in her interview with Hoda.
Because you have to remember...
You have to remember is an implicit command to Hoda to agree with her about this. You have to remember presupposes that what she's saying is objectively true and not just a self-serving opinion. For Jada's information, however, mental health was indeed something people talked about, not for pity and overly emotional social media posts, but because they were struggling with issues. Psychology was a thing before social media. She also uses the qualifier really.
No one was really talking about mental health.
So implicitly, she shows that she knows that people were talking about it. Just not really, whatever that's supposed to mean. But again, it's a way for Jada to blame a general problem for her inability to understand, supposedly. It couldn't be because she was insatiable, could it? That there was something very wrong with her mindset. That would have been an interesting counter-question in an actual interview, and not the monologue that this is.
The title of your book is Worthy. And so today as we sit here on this couch...
I feel worthy.
Tell me.
Of course. Everything about Jada's self-serving language has pointed to this convenient conclusion. What else? I can't wait.
Yeah, I just feel so good. I've been through so much.
She hasn't been through so much. She's put herself through so much due to the demands that she's made. It wasn't circumstances, it was her own decisions. The decisions that someone with her personality type makes in life, with big consequences for the people around them. Let's not let a detail like that get in the way of Jada depicting herself as a fighter, so that people will look up to her, so that they'll buy her book, which is what all of this is really about, money.
You know, and when you can really look at your life, and we think that life is supposed to be perfect, and when life isn't perfect, we feel like, oh, then I'm not worthy, then something's wrong with me.
Remind me to do a survey about whether or not we actually think life's supposed to be perfect. This is what Jada thinks, allegedly, which is in line with her fairy tale-like stories, by the way, and she projects what she allegedly thinks onto other people as an excuse for her decisions in life. Jada takes something that she knows young people are struggling with, the fear of being imperfect, because in theory this will make her seem relatable to them. However, none of what she's put herself through has to do with the fear of being imperfect and truly asking herself, what's wrong with me? That's one question Jada obviously doesn't ask herself, as she will go above and beyond to avoid accountability. It's like when she talked about mental health, she takes these modern issues to make people relate to her, which rhetorically is a clever move as it creates the illusion of a community and makes people forget what Jada said and done specifically.
And that's not what it's about. We get challenged with life in order to keep building our self-worth, to keep finding our greatness, you know? And so that's what the book is about. It's about that journey.
Keep finding our greatness. I think I've heard this kind of language before.
I mean, it's so interesting because we can look at you and think, what? Self-esteem issues? What are you talking about?
Come on!
So when did your seed get planted in terms of knowing that this was a very important thing, that you need to embrace your uniqueness?
Yes.
And, you know, create your own box?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my, how sweet is that? You've been reading the TIG.
That's right.
If this is the kind of journey that this book is about, it sure must be a very authentic book. By the way, if anyone's counted the number of times Jada says, you know, please let us know, you know.
We are in a place now that we are in a deep healing space, and we are really concentrating on healing the relationship between us.
But wait, I thought they were in this healing process years ago.
You and I were also going through a process of healing in a much different manner. We never, ever, ever thought that we would make it back.
You thought I was that I didn't have the girth that it was going to take to ride with you through.
Besides, if they're in a healing process, whatever this means, Jada never tells us anything specific. How can she talk about this beautiful journey as a completed event when they're obviously still on it?
And so now we're just super solid
Yeah.
And so now I can actually talk about what the journey has been.
Then again, this interview in name only isn't a place for actual questions. By the way, what does a deep healing space look like? It sounds cool.
We are in a place now that we are in a deep healing space. No, we really have been working hard.
Oh.
See?
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. We might get...
I was trying to
Journalism.
Yes, because
Okay.
here's the thing about
Tell me.
husband-wife marriage for me, for my healing process. I came into that with very specific ideas, right? Very specific ideas.
You don't say.
He can't be this perfect, idealized husband.
Yes, of course.
I have to be able to accept him for the human that he is. He
Yes,
accepts
it's
me
you.
for the human that I am.
It's quite ironic to hear someone like Jada talk about emotional issues when the word choice she uses is so unnatural and contrived. That's because this is all about using the right terms for the sake of image. Whether it actually seems authentic is irrelevant. With this, Jada gives us a glimpse of the insatiable demands I mentioned earlier, but that she wouldn't talk about, and which made her blame mental health instead. These demands function as a deliberate self-defense mechanism. The demands are so high that she knows that people won't be able to live up to them. And when people can't live up to her demands, what does that allow her to do, according to her logic, that is? It allows her to see other people and do whatever she wants. Jada's self-focus is what's really causing the problems in her life, not just for her, but also for her family. And it's a lot more convenient to blame a general issue like mental health instead. All of this speaks to personality, which is why Jada is so busy trying to associate with other people. Deep down, she knows the truth. Her language reveals as much, but she has a book she wants to sell. Readers are guaranteed plenty of self-serving excuses and empty jargon to disguise the hedonism that runs Jada's life. If you liked the video, click the like button, which always helps, and make sure you're subscribed for more videos. See you next time.